Cool. So what we've got here, we've got Brett on this call. Now, Brett is an ex-client of mine, and I thought to be the perfect person to start off this podcast. Like, Brett has heavily invested in himself over the couple of years that I've known the guy. So no better person for me than to bring him on, who can really just talk about what he's been through within the industry and how he's sort of grown and developed into the awesome coach that he is now. So, Brett, do you want to give like a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's one of them where you almost try to understate yourself. You got to be humble with these things, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm an online coach. Used to be a PT. Was a PT for 6-7 years. Over 10,000 hours of in-person training. Based in Newcastle. Worked around the world. Worked in Egypt and Australia for a little bit. And then I enjoy what I do. So when COVID came, I had to jump online, and I think I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, no, 100%, amazing. Like I said, the whole point of this podcast for me is trying to give people who are potentially going to be in the industry and starting off in the industry and insights into actually what the job's like and the pros and the cons and the groundwork that you have to put in, because I think a lot of people think it's all rainbows and flowers, and there's not, I think especially when it comes to online as well, that they don't think there's that much work to do. You just sit in a Costa and just type on a laptop, when you and I definitely know that's not the case. Like, we bashed our heads against our social media and all this kind of thing. And as I said, like, Brett started as what I think is very, very important, working on the gym floor first. I think that is something that is obviously due to COVID, that's probably potentially been fast tracked a little bit, but definitely that's a big thing for me. Like, if you go back through the start of your career to where you are now, like, what would you say like the biggest lessons you've learned, and like the things that you probably wouldn't do at the start that you do now, if that makes sense?
I mean, I guess I have to start back like right at the start. So when I initially begun, like, I graduated university in 2013. I was graduating journalism, and then I was like, I don't want to do this. So I applied at a hotel gym. It was only really hotel gyms around where I was, because I was in the Lake District. They had no like chains. Like, now the biggest gym there is like Anytime Fitness. Oh, yeah. But it was only hotel gyms there. So, I had, doing programs, and I had doing inductions and stuff, but I'll be honest, some people used to give me shit and be like, oh, you're just a glorified towel folder. And sometimes I was. That's what I was. I was at a desk asking people how they were, booking people in for treatments and appointments and stuff like that. And it was only the odd time in my shift that maybe like 3-4 times a week I'd get someone in for a program, and then I'd be in my element. But I was level 2 fitness instructor for first 2 years. I wasn't level 3 qualified. I wanted to get used to this other stuff and learn a lot of other stuff first before I went in and actually was able to apply it on a one-to-one basis. And I think a lot of people want to fast track that now. Mm-hmm. You have your 6-week courses and stuff, but everyone wants to go from not being qualified to teaching someone one-to-one. And there's a lot of steps in between that I think people need to take. Yeah. Really, even when I was on the gym floor doing personal training back in 2015, I think back to some of my programs that I gave people, some of the people that I worked with, and I'm like, fuck, like, if I could help them now, I'd be able to help them so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely get that. And like, you touched on there about like education that you put yourself through. Do you want to just list all the shit that you've done over, let's say, the last 2 years? Because like, I like to educate myself, but like, Brett is also someone who loves to delve into courses, and I think it's massively important. Like you just said then, like, if you went back to one-to-one PT when you were doing one-to-one PT on the gym floor, like how you change things, but you could also argue in another 5 years from now, because you keep educating yourself, you probably change things how you do from now to what you do in 5 years, because as we understand, we become more efficient at things and we learn new things as well. And that's why I think it's very important. That's why, again, why I want to get you on, is because you're just going to list off all your education now.
Yeah, well, I mean, something you touched on there was, 5 years to look back and be like, oh, I could have done this. I want to do that in 6 months. Yeah. I want to do that in 6 months and be like, right, well, I could have been doing that, or I could have been doing that, or I could have been doing this. I could help this person that way. But as long as you've got that knowledge now, you can then apply it. So I've worked with Muscle Mentors. I worked directly with Muscle Nerds and Luke Lehman, Fitness Rebels with Nick Daniels, Integrate Education with Michael Goulden. They're really just a few of them. I've done a few other courses as well. I try not to be a course whore anymore. I felt like I was getting myself around a little bit. I tried to just apply maybe one thing at a time now. So I am doing the mentorship with Luke Lehman, but I'm doing the program design with Muscle Nerds as well. They've got the nutrition and program design, which are 2 awesome courses.
Okay, cool. And what would you say your passion is within the industry? Because like we all seem to venture to one thing, whether it be training, supplementation, lifestyle-based stuff, nutrition. Where would you say your passion really lies?
Go on.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one. So this is something that's really changed for me over the past 18 months, really, especially since we started, when we started working together, because I don't think I understood the importance of health. Okay. It's all right having a 6-pack and having massive shoulders, but if you're a walking heart attack and you're about to have a stroke in a week's time, then that's looking shredded ain't going to help anyone on your deathbed. And that's something that's, since working with you, Shane Seary as well, since working with Muscle Nerds, that's something that's really changed my perspective on how I want to help people, and that's the way I try and build my coaching now. My program is based on something called Becoming Bulletproof, because I want to help you become more resilient. Anyone can make you sweat, anyone can make you tired. It takes someone better to make you better. It takes someone good to make you better, but it's going to take someone even better than that to make sure that you're healthy while becoming better as well.
Yeah, 100%, Nathan. I think that's something that is definitely becoming a little bit more prevalent within the industry now, is the fact of health. Like if you would have learned, say, like 10 years ago, like when you're doing like sort of GBC or these kind of things, like it was mainly like just getting aesthetically pleased. But I think a lot of us are now becoming a little bit more aware of the health. And I think this is where like meditation and all this isn't going so yoga-y now. Like it's become a lot more into like our practice, and you can see that from a lot more coaches implying the stuff that we just said then in regards to like optimizing health. And like as I said, like me and Brett used to jump on calls every Tuesday. We used to talk and discuss things with clients, and like the generalized rules that seem to be going through the industry in regards to 1,200 calories. You have to put someone on that, or they can't go below 1,200 calories, or the idea that there's no such thing as bad foods, which there are to some degree, but at the end of the day, like an apple's going to be more nutritionally benefit than fruit gums. Like there's definitely pros and cons to all that kind of shit.
I feel cold out there with fruit gums.
Oh mate, like it's like look, like as I said, like I've done things before. Like I give this talk to someone who's like, look, fruit's better than this, but like I had a bag of Fantastics next to me because like I need to get 100 grams of carbs in for the end of the day, and like there's places for everything, and you just can't become so one-track man. And that's something that you're definitely not. Is you're very open, aren't you, to other methods and other methodologies. It's not just I do this approach and this works. And especially if you want to make people bulletproof, you have to be open to potentially the situation that person's going to be in, and then how to act around that situation. So what are the kind of things that when you talk about health now, that you really, really, really like think are important that you might not have thought, say, 3 years ago?
So straight from the beginning, the biggest thing, which especially like post-COVID, I don't think a lot of people are dealing with that very, very well. Mm-hmm. But a big factor is stress, and I don't think that's something that a lot of people take into consideration. Your other metrics, cool, we can look at your waist, but I'm more interested to see what your blood pressure is. Mm-hmm. In your resting heart rate and your heart rate variability. Like that's stuff that's more important to me than seeing if we've dropped a few centimeters on our waist. Like, cool, if your weight's increased and you're getting in a bloody tiz about it, well, what's your stress levels like? Have you been dealing with stress very well? If not, can that lead to more water retention? Of course it can, because certain hormones are going to raise, certain hormones are going to elevate. We've got adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, other shit going on like that. And if you're just ignoring that sort of stuff for the sake of getting shredded, it's fucking walking disaster, really. You're going to be fucking ill as shit, and then you're not going to be able to get any training in, you're not going to be able to get any food in. You're just not going to enjoy any of it.
Yeah, and do you think, like, and I'm not going to delve into social media here, like, but me and you had conversation, but do you think, like, social media is, like, a big impact on all this kind of thing in regards to people look at things and they think they have to be doing this methodology because X person is doing this kind of thing? Do you think that played a role or not as much?
I think to an extent it can. It depends how much that person influences you. Like, yeah, you've got influencers, but if that person is quite a significant influence on you, then and they're doing X, Y, and Z, then you're more inclined to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna give it a go. Or if this program works for them, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna give it a go for me as well. I mean, even something like Eugene Teo, I used to look up to him quite well. Not so much anymore, but I used to look up to him, and he'd post a lot of stuff, and I'd be like, fuck, I've got to try that.
Yeah.
I didn't. Well, I knew what I was doing, but I was like, well, how's that going to benefit me? Or am I just putting a needless exercise in? And that's something that you go on a lot about the intent of an exercise. Every rep has its reason, every set has its reason. If you can't give a reason for why that exercise is in there, then why the fuck's it in there in the first place?
Yeah, good. Thank you for plugging me in there. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, mate. Like, I don't know. I start and I just can't stop. It was praising you though.
No, thank you. Like, no, it's right in regards to, I think that was a good point around if that actually influences you personally, because like we all have our favorites, and our favorites, I'd say, like, they will change over time, but it's like, just because your favorite does this, like, their lifestyle's going to be completely different to potentially yours. And like, people, like, I've noticed this, and you've probably noticed from like working completely online now, the amount of steps you do is so much less than what you did on the gym floor. So like, even just taking our own job, like what probably applied to me when I was doing one-to-one PT and when you're doing one-to-one PT probably doesn't apply to us as much now in regards to like how we need to manufacture. Like nutritionally, I don't need as many calories anymore because I'm not doing 15, 20,000 steps a day. I'm lucky if I do 5 if I'm not conscious of it. So like, obviously,
you need to get them steps up, mate.
Mate, I think my ordering's a little bit fucked up, if I'm honest. But like, I don't move sometimes, and sometimes then it's like trying to remind yourself that you need to eat, because it's like when you get lost in check-ins and you head down and you're planning something. It's like, oh shit, 4 hours, man.
Yeah. I know that feeling all too well. That happened on Monday. I was like 2 meals behind. Yeah,
but so it's like probably need to let the dog out for a wee as well. That's the most weird thing. It's like they just fall asleep and it's like, oh shit, yeah, actually, forget I have animals there. Like your dog's a little bit bigger than mine, so he's probably harder to miss than my two little shits. But yeah, okay, cool. What like something else?
I mean, with what you said before, like you mentioned about 1,200 calories, and I just want to sort of touch on that because and it does go on to how a person influences you as well, because if you're invested in what someone's saying, and you're probably going to take their word as gospel, right? So if that person's putting, let's say it's a coach, say they're putting up on Insta, oh, you don't need to go below 1,200 calories to lose fat. Like, yeah, some of you fucking do. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah, maybe not going it for like 52 weeks out of the year, but you might need to be going below 1,200 calories for maybe 8 to 12 weeks. And that's just the way it is. If you don't like being under 1,200 calories, well, you've got to be very fucking patient, or you shouldn't have put that much fat mass on in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a very fucking, I don't know, maybe like a naive way or I don't know, almost overly aggressive way of looking at things. But if you don't want to do certain things, and you don't want to be where you're at, then you've got to fucking get out your comfort zone. And some people just are not prepared to do that.
Yeah, I fucking
no matter the coaching.
No, I fucking love that, because like it is that continuum, isn't it? Like, if you want results by a time frame, you've got to do shit by a time frame to get them results. But if you want to take a year to do it and you want to go slow, that's fine. But at the same time, you have to be fucking consistent for that year. Like, and I think people seem to get lost when they see these before and after transformations in regard to the actual context of what that person was in, the situation they were in. Like, did they just go fucking hard for 10 weeks? And that's how they went, or were they like a robot for 52 weeks? So like when people put these transformations up and they go 10k loss or whatever the percentage of loss will be, it's like you can't just look at it from a visual perspective as well. It needs to be the context of that person. Is that person, like in this way you can go back to lower things, was that person an athlete at one point? And I talk about this a fair bit on like my stuff. Is like, if you've got an athlete who's been a very, very high level sport performer at a young age, they've got something about them, because to be something at that age in regards to being competing for your country, whatever it may be, you've got some competitive edge. And if you've just lost your way through like 5 years being in your 20s or something, you still have that to some degree. And if they can flick it on, mate, the fucking dreams to work with. And like, you can go hard at them, because also from like an athletic perspective, you'll be able to pick up shit very quickly as well, probably. And it's like, you can start pushing the intensity a little bit more. But then if you've got someone who's new out the box, you might have to take a different approach with them. And again, this is why, like, I hate PDF programs, because where's the thought process into that person there? Because the training program that you're on now with Nick compared to the training program that you were on with me 18 months ago will be completely different compared to the training program that you were on 5 years ago when you might have been doing it yourself. It's all dependent on where you are at that moment in time. And like, that's something, again, what your thing in regards to being bulletproof, it's very tailored to that individual. And again, this is why you educate you so much, because you understand more about how you can tailor things to them individuals that are in front of you, which I think is just fucking awesome. And I think that's where the industry should be going, because I do think now a lot of people paying money for business and how to get people through out the door and not investing in themselves enough about the job. And look, yeah, on paper, our job's not that hard in regards to just get people to lose weight. But there's so many factors that come to our job that are just so underestimated. Like how you talk to people, how you can get, like how you motivate people, how you understand people's structures to the design training programs when it comes to nutrition, like understanding the degrees of what that person might have to be on based off their mindset and what they've been through previously. Like there's a lot more that comes to it that I think a lot of people take for granted when it comes to our job. Like sometimes I'm still embarrassed to say I'm a coach. Like it's nowhere near to the same extent now. Like it's nowhere near, but like 5 years ago when the industry was a little bit more, probably less respected, I was definitely, but now I will say it a lot more confidently, and that's on me, by the way. But like I think a lot of people are starting to delve into actually the importance of our job, because it's fucking very important to a lot of people.
Yeah. Like, I've seen a few memes about it lately, and it's like, oh, he's a personal trainer. He's not a personal trainer. He's a fat loss specialist, and all this sort of stuff, like joking around. But yeah, like I wouldn't class myself as a personal trainer, because I would like to think that, I'm going to say it, personal trainers that I've worked with before, I would say I'm a fucking level above them. And I know that's blowing smoke up my own ass, but they've never bothered to fucking educate themselves. They've never bothered to, think about all this different stuff. Whereas, Luke says to me, if you're not learning, you're not earning. Mm-hmm. Like that's gonna be a thing for you. If you want more money, you've got to put more money into yourself and your business. There's working in your business, there's working on your business. And if you're happy to just turn up and do a session, mate, I know people who are writing their clients' programs a minute before they walked out the door to deliver them. Like it's bullshit. And then they're paying for premium service and you're giving them a dog shit service. Yeah. Like it's absolutely not on. And that's why I try and do everything I can, working with the mentors that I've got to elevate myself above any other coach who wants to come near me or classes me as their competition. Mm-hmm. Like I say competition, there's bloody however many billion people in the world, and there's only a small percentage of them which are online coaches. But you're going back to it, you're absolutely right. Like if someone was like, Brett's a personal trainer, I'd be like, no, mm-hmm. I'm a coach. I don't know. It might be like, potato sort of thing, but I personally think there is a very distinct, there's certain connotations about each word that, the general population might not know or might not think of, might not understand. But as a coach, I don't want to be associated and I don't want to be tied with the same brush as certain coaches who I used to work with who couldn't fucking lace up my shoes.
Yeah, and you've got every right to say that. Like, there's nothing wrong in regards to what you're saying, because you're right in regards to investing in yourself. Because if you don't invest in yourself, then, like, if you look at any business has to invest in themselves to improve the product, to improve the service. And as time goes on, I say we learn more shit. Like, who knows, in 5 years, you might be going down a completely different avenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might be doing physiotherapy to some degree, like, because you might just find a passion within that, but you're going to keep investing yourself and keep investing yourself in regards to education. And that's something that we are touching a lot about here, because I know that's something that me and Brett are very, very passionate about. Like, I'm just finishing off Prescript that I signed up to ages ago, but I'm finally finishing it off now because I've got the time to. And that compared to RTS is like, it's different. It's a different way to approach stuff, but you take what you want from each course. And this is what I like about when you educate yourself, is like, you can't use everything all at once. And I used to be like this when I used to do a course and go, okay, that's how I need to do everything now. And it's like, that I'm going to do this method. I remember doing Y3T was one of the first courses I've done. Don't know why I done Y3T with Neil Hill, but I've done it. And then I train people like that for this, like a PT, like a baby PT. I train people like that for 8 weeks because that's what Neil Hill said. Yeah. But like, there's still application of that I could apply now. And that's things like the stuff that you're going to learn off Luke. Some of it, like this is the thing that Shane spoke to me ages ago, like things that he'll be told might not apply there and then, because you might not fully understand it, because you might not get put in that scenario where you have to understand it, if that makes sense. And then a year down the line, go, oh, fuck yeah, that's what Luke said. And that's what Luke meant, because now I'm given that scenario here when you can see the person respond to it. And that's the beauty about education. Like, don't get me wrong, I think sometimes you can do too much at once. And you were doing that potentially a year ago. I definitely done that 2 years ago, where it's like just more course. And then you just get a little bit lost in your ways. You never actually absorb everything from that specific course. You just absorb little bits and don't probably appreciate the course of what it was.
Overwhelmed as well.
Massively, mate. Yeah, massively. But it's also that burning desire, as you said. Like, it was exactly what you said there. Like, again, we are competition. Like, we all are competition. But the difference, I think, between like people who know other coaches educate themselves, it's like you also want that coach to do well, because you know if a client goes to them, they're going to get a good service. Because at the end, they're the most people that matter, the clients themselves. Like, I know if a client goes to you, like say me and you batting out for a client and he chooses you over me, I know for a fact he's going to get a good service and he's going to get the results he wants. And like, that's the most important thing, because there's more than enough people in this world for results coach. Like there are. But it's just making sure the clients get the justifiable coaching experience that they should, because we've all had where people have had bad experiences. And then you speak to the clients and you go, well, that's not really what coaching is.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're talking about there, the difference between writing a PDF document, a PDF nutrition plan, as opposed to actual coaching experience and speaking to someone and that person understanding you. You're building a relationship up with that person. I think that's a beauty of what our job is. You actually really, and the beauty about online is you can reach anyone. You can have anyone from over, and you can build these working relationships up, and you can see them change as a person just as much as they are physically. And I think that's a cool thing about our job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when as you said there, when you get to build that relationship with someone, and you know, you do, like me and you, we've never met. We'll actually be meeting this Friday for the first time, but we've never met, and I like think we've got a good relationship. You know, we coached for pretty much 18 months. But on the flip side of that, everyone who you bring on, I don't know, you're not always gonna just have that initial bond with them. Even sometimes, like a couple of months down the line, it might be like still sometimes a little bit like pulling teeth. And sometimes in that initial call, you have just got to trust your gut and be like, you know, there's been times when I've gone upstairs and I've been like, is this person right for me and my program, or would they be better off suited with someone else?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like, no, you know what? Like, I'm going to bring them on. And then a couple of months down the line, I'm like, I maybe should have trusted my gut on this one.
Yeah.
You know, it's maybe a horrible thing to say, but you know, you're not going to get on with everyone in the world. God, I bet some people listening to this right now are thinking, what a wanker. But at the same time, there's probably going to be some people who are thinking, this guy's the greatest thing since Ali.
No, but like, it's a good thing, and I think that's honestly, like, and this is what I hope about this fucking podcast, because like it's to tell people the truth. Like, you do not get on with everyone. That's just like a walk of life you can't do. And I think we have to become chameleons, and we have to make sure that we can speak, like the way I speak to you now is completely different to the way I probably spoke to you at the start. We have a decent solid relationship now, but also like if you've got someone who just wants to just be told what to do. He doesn't care about mechanics. He doesn't care about biofeedback. He just wants to be told what to do. And you give him reasons and you talk about that. Or then you speak to someone who wants to know the ins and outs, and you can speak to him a little bit more relaxed. He doesn't want to be so official about everything and so professional, you could probably argue and say that. Like, you do change it, but there are some people, mate, who you just don't click with. And that's where the personal service comes into it, because it's personalities that have to link. And you know yourself, mate, if you click with someone and they click with you and they believe and they trust in the results they get are awesome. When you've got that little bit of I'm not sure if we're getting on here, you do have a little sit down, talk to yourself and go, look, is this actually working? Are we working together? And like, they're happy. They're happy. That's the most important thing. But sometimes you just need to have that oral conversation as well with people, and don't be afraid to. Like, I'm lucky right now, like, the coaches and clients I've got underneath me, like, I haven't got any that I don't really get on with, but I have had in the past, and like, especially at the start of my career, like, because you do just want to get people, and then you want to get as much experience as you can. But like, there are people like, yeah, we didn't have like remember you doing one-to-one sessions, mate, and you were counting the rest down because you had nothing to say in the rest time. And it's like, again, you were young, like I was 22, 23 at this time, and you're young and you're inexperienced, but like, we just had nothing in common. Like, and also like I didn't have the ability now. So like you're really into like comic books and all that, aren't you? Like at that young age, you didn't have the ability to really bring out other people's interests.
You just pull anything out of there. You just like cling on to something. You're like, almost like, yes. How was your weekend? Yeah, it was good. Cool. What did you do? Not a lot. Oh fuck. I had I'm going off. I almost feel like I'm taking away your theme there, but I did have one client one time who she'd come in 8 o'clock on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening. We'd do our session. They'd be like, so what was your nutrition today? How did you hit your protein goal and all this? Again, I wasn't as clued up as I am now, but it was like, I had 2 Quality Streets and I had 8 pistachios and 3 segments of an orange. I'd be like, okay, cool. Let's go upstairs. Let's we're gonna start off with some deadlifts. And I'd be like, in the rest, I'd be like, so how was that? And she'd be like, good. I'm like, when did you feel it? She's like, all over. I'm like, cool. I'm just like, I'm gonna go get some more plates or something like that.
So many PTs will be able to relate to that. Like, and if they can't relate to that, they're fucking lying. Like
that was like what we're talking now, almost 7 years ago. Whereas now, I like to think because of my education, because of the mentors and people I've spoken with, such as you, and this is a conversation I told you about earlier this year. But I did have someone on board, and they were what I would class as quite unhealthy. They were overweight. The blood pressure was through the roof, and their reasoning for not doing stuff was because they were too busy putting the rest of the family first. And I came to you and I told you what I'd said afterwards, and I had to say to him, if you don't start working on you, you won't be alive to put your family first.
Yeah.
And that was a very tough conversation that 7 years ago I wouldn't have been able to have. But I felt like I had to have that conversation with that person, then to fully understand the impact of not doing something now would have on them and their family in the future.
Yeah.
It's these conversations. It's learning to be personable and not just being a fucking dick and saying it. Like, again, I can talk like a dick, but learning not to say it like a dick.
Yeah, and that's the thing of that. I think there's a lot of people potentially in that same like sort of boat where they do everything for everybody else, but don't realize that by neglecting themselves, eventually they're going to hinder themselves being able to do everything for everything else. Like, it might not even be that severe in regards to the situation you people, like if people get ill or if people are so tired and fatigued because they're doing everything for everybody else and then they go to do something for someone and then they fuck it up somehow. Like, this is why I think, like, again, I'm not hippie in any way, shape or form, but I do believe in a lot more sort of holistic approach to things. But like, looking after yourself is the number one goal. It should be for everyone. And that's why I really, really love the thing that you're talking about regards to the bulletproof, like looking after your health and looking after your mental state and doing things for yourself. Like, I asked, like, when clients told me, like, the girl that I put up today, like, she was so busy. It was like, when do you do things for yourself? Like, when do you actually do something for yourself in a day? Like, we've got loads of time. Like, as coaches, right, we're not busy that we're doing check-ins for 14 hours a day. Like, we're not. Like, you went to cinema today. Like, I signed up to get a new car this morning. Like, we've got time to do these little things, but we've got, I think, to be efficient, we need to make sure we program it in. So, and I think that's the thing. Is like, but when you start doing things for yourself, you then start to feel better about yourself, and then that has an effect on the other people around you, which again is a really, really important thing. But like, yeah, that, like, I can remember the conversation, mate, and I can remember you telling me like how I'm going to word it. Like, I do need to say it, and you just, and when you told me you said it, like, it just had to be said, essentially. And she was appreciative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just said before, but it's learning when and how to have these conversations, and that's where you are wearing a few different hats. You're not just telling someone to train and give them calories, and if you are, then that's what can be done on a fucking PDF. You are coaching someone. You are coaching a person and not a robot. And these person will have emotions, and sometimes they will emotionally eat, and they will do other things. And it's learning, to have that communication. I've got a book upstairs from someone who did something called the Art of Communication. Can't remember the name of the book, but I'll try and remember afterwards. But reading into that's like hostage negotiation and stuff, and learning how to speak to these people are holding people hostages, and that might seem like quite an extreme, an extreme way to go. But at the same time, you've got to learn how to speak to these other people. I mean, at the same time, there's two ways about it. Because yes, you need to learn how to speak to people and not just be a dick all the time. But at the same time, you have got to be you.
Yeah,
you've got to show who you are on the calls, in your check-ins, on your social media and stuff like that, so that when they come to you, they're not surprised that you're dropping the C-bomb. Or like when you call them a stupid bell end, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
You've told me to stop being a dick a few times before, when someone might have taken that the wrong way. Again, it's building them relationships and knowing when to call that person a dick and when not to call them a dick.
Yeah. And again, like, this is where, like, when it comes to checking feedback and the questions that we ask in check-ins, and I said this on the video I put up on Make Your Job, it's just like, when you work with someone and you build a relationship up, you can tell if someone's off on a check-in without them telling you they're off on a check-in. Like, and it's like they're wording and understanding how they work. Because like if someone's normally like you are on check-ins, like when you were checking with me, like, they're happy, they're playful. Like, if you were a little bit down or something, like you went through a stressful period in your life or something like that, you can read into that, and then it might be just dropping a WhatsApp going, "You okay, mate? Do you want to call?" And like, that's the art of coaching for me. It's picking up on the little things, and as you said, mate, giving a nutrition plan and training plan isn't fucking hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go onto like Google, type in how many calories X needs, take as many as you want off it, write a GBC program, and go, there you go, crack on, I'll speak to you in 6 weeks. Like, that's not coaching. It's understanding that someone might be going through a hard time in life, and how can you navigate around this hard time in life without taking them too far away from what they want to achieve. Because people have always come to you because they want to achieve something that for some reason they can't do by themselves. They're struggling to be able to do it by themselves. And it's our job as a professional to help them get to where they want to be, as efficiently and as educationally as possible. Because at the end of the day, they shouldn't be with us forever, or they shouldn't need to be with us forever. They should need to be with us for a certain amount of time so we can educate them, but then they should want to be with you because they keep learning things. Or, as you've done, you want to go and learn off someone else on a different methodology and how to approach things, which I think is just as cool. And again, that's the point of a job. If you've got a client for, say, 5 years and they still need to be with you, then one, the client is potentially not in the right place to need a coach, or you haven't educated them enough properly.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Absolutely agree. And, if someone is stressed or if someone is having that down period, how are you then going to manipulate their nutrition or their program to support that around their lifestyle and around not just what they're feeling, but maybe what they're going through? Like, if their digestion's off, are you going to know how to improve that, or what to work around? If they're stressed, are you going to know what gut protocol to give them, or how to supplement them, or what other stuff to help work with them? Are you going to know how to program more conditioning workouts rather than just giving them fucking loads of burpees and slam balls? Like, this is the stuff that, if you're not educating yourself on, then you can't be 100% certain. And then you just fucking stabbing in the dark, or whatever the phrase is. I don't know. I don't know.
Don't think you're too far off it. But you just nailed it there. And this comes back to like the original thing we were saying before in regards to, I've just literally lost my train of thought, and it was a really, really good point. You said conditioning work.
Yeah. If you're super stressed and you want to be doing a little bit more conditioning, like, that's going to be more beneficial for someone whose blood pressure is super high, rather than giving them loads of heavy neural work. Like, if you're programming someone that's like, sat at a desk all day, stress is through the roof, they've got 3 kids, and you're giving them 5 sets of 5 on bench press, it's time for you to look at your coaching and see how you can help that person better.
But that's all I want to say. But that's where it comes at the start here in regards to, because the client wants to lose weight, our job isn't to just make that client lose weight. It's to give them a better understanding in regards to how to make things efficient in themselves and look after themselves and get the health and sobriety. Because, look, if the client wants to lose weight, don't give them food. Make them drink loads of caffeine. And if you want to, like, put them on other things, like, that's how you can get the job done. But that's not a healthy thing. It's also not sustainable. And it's also potentially going to fuck them up really badly.
Yeah, and my job for that's important. Why it's understand someone else's why as well. Okay, so they want to lose weight. Okay, but why do they want to lose weight? And I I'm going to be totally honest. In my first few years of coaching, I felt really uncomfortable to ask someone's why, so I didn't really do it. I wanted to know their goal, and sometimes I would accept, yeah, I just want to work on my general fitness as an answer. Not a fucking chance I would accept that as an answer from someone now. But, if someone wants to lose weight because they're, playing with the kids and they're out of breath, or they're leaning forward when they're picking the dog up and they're hurting the back and stuff like that, then cool, let's start to work on that. But, if that is your why, then having no energy and not having enough calories at the same time. I know I spoke about dropping calories before, but if you haven't got enough calories and haven't got enough energy, then you're not going to have that energy to play with your kids. So it sort of becomes a juxtaposition. It's really important to understand what you're juggling with and understand that client's lifestyle and habits. If you've got 40, 50 clients, that's cool, but it's so important that you know the ins and outs of every single one of them. Otherwise, you're not doing them justice. You're not coaching.
100%. And it's the why that's the most important thing. What you just said out of all that, it's like it is annoying when you go when your conversation phone goes, I want to lose X, or I want to get fit. It's just like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, if I me getting fit and I'll be able to run and not run more than 100 meters, that'll be me getting fitter right now. Whereas someone might want to be able to run a marathon. Having just general terms isn't good enough. And that's what I think, as you said, when you know the ins and outs of what people's whys are, and sometimes it can get quite uncomfortable, because sometimes it can get quite fucking deep. And it's like, okay, shit, didn't expect to get to there today on a Sunday evening. But at the same time, you've also got to look at that the other side. If someone's had the confidence and the bravery to sort of, and when I say bravery, don't mean that patronising way, to open up and tell you the reason why, that's a big fucking thing.
Absolutely.
And it's and then we can't take that with a pinch of salt. We go, okay, cool, fuck, that means a lot. So it's also like a button that you can press further on down the line with checking. It's well, what you're doing here is not really correlating with what we said we were going to do on the date when you've done the consultation with me. You thought you said this means a lot to you, and then it's about getting people's priorities in straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's another thing that's massive in our industry. Clients should say, the priorities need to be in line with what they want to achieve. So we've got Christmas coming up. For some reason, everyone likes to eat and get pissed on Christmas. And it's okay, so what's your priority? Is your priority to look good and feel great, or is your priority to go out and have a great time with your friends? And what was that, sorry?
I said, or is your priority mince pies?
Yeah, never got to think about mince pies. It really baffles me.
Mince pie, mate. But with coaching, it's almost like a reverse relationship, because majority of the time, someone's gonna, hit you up on social media, or fill in your pre-application form, something like that, and you don't have a relationship with that person yet. Again, going back to what we spoke about before, but you're gonna send maybe, I don't know, 8-10 messages max. You're gonna jump on a call, and then you're gonna want that person to open up to their deepest desires and stuff that they'd probably only talked to maybe a therapist about, and they've never really thought that deep about before. So when it does come to, okay, I want to lose weight, you can say why, and they might just turn around because, but maybe think about the questions that you're asking as well. What would that mean to you? What would that mean to your partner? And what would that mean to your kids as well? How does that have an effect on them? Well, it means they get to go out on day nights and they get to wear this shirt that I've not worn in ages. Right, now we're getting deeper. But again, it's so personal and it's so important that, you don't just brush it off, because coaching is, I think you said this before, coaching is an art, and you've got to know what to do. You've got to know not to just drop someone to a certain amount of low calories because you think that's what you can do straight away. Sure, they'll be able to get a nice body transformation after 12 weeks, but that won't be able to keep it off. So it's important that you establish these boundaries to begin with, these habits. You start, and I spoke about it yesterday on my social media, but you start building these big rocks for your foundations, and then we've got these foundations that are going to be built on stone rather than on sand. But they're going to be more stable rather than all wonky. And, if something goes a little bit wrong, then suddenly it's, and I can talk about this and being rich from it, but, getting a Domino's pizza and, getting all the sides and stuff like that, it just becomes, if you don't understand that stuff first, it can just become a bit of a downhill slope.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I completely agree with that. And it's as you said, it's sort of building them foundations and that reverse engineering and understanding where that person's at, I was said like before, at that moment of time. Because some people think they're fucking ready for it. Like the amount of times I jumped on calls, go, yeah, I'm ready for it. This time's like, well, what happened the fucking first time? I'll do it 10 times. Like, obviously something wasn't in place for them, for the previous times, that we might need to put in place for this time. But mate, honestly, like, yeah, there's a reason why I wanted to get you on this, mate. This is because, like, one, you fucking love it. Like, you can just tell how you talk, you love this industry, and like, I think you appreciate and you do class yourself as like a really, really lucky person to be able to do this for a living. Like, I think like, a lot of coaches need to understand this is a fucking privilege. At the end of the day, mate, like, as a job, we get to do something that we love, which not a lot of people can say for themselves. And I think it should be in our own rights that we educate ourselves and push ourselves further to get better at this job, so that we can do ourselves justice and our clients justice. But as I said, mate, I couldn't think of the best person to go for my first one. Like, just seeing you go strong and strong over the last 18 months. It's like the person you are now, and the way you hold conversations now, and your knowledge just developing more and more and more. Like, it's just been absolutely awesome to see from a first-hand perspective. And then the way you talk now, and the experiences you just give out all the listeners there, hopefully loads of listeners anyway. And the little nuggets that, if people are starting off to understand that it's fucking hard work.
Yeah, it's not like, people think PT is a moneymaker, but
it's fucking not. I'm sorry, it's not. Like, if you've been in the PT for a good amount of years, you might be doing okay for yourself, but it's a constant battle, and it always will be a constant battle because you're self-employed and your service is based off other people. Like, you're trying to keep getting other people into it, and it can be affected by other things, like it has been for the last 2 years. But as I said, I couldn't think of anyone better to be on, mate. So I can't thank you enough. So I'll end the podcast there. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to talk about or say?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if there are some coaches listening to this, Steve McGrath posted something about this earlier on today, and if you think you're balling, you're probably only 5 clients away from having a fucking big old shock. So it is just staying true to your values and doing what you can do. If you do lose those 5 clients, and maybe take a look at them and be like, okay, well, did we have the best relationship? Can I build better relationships with other people? Think of it as an opportunity. Sometimes it's all about that perception. I spoke about stress before, but it is about that perception. If you do lose a few clients, then okay, how can I benefit someone else? Right, let's get to work now. And don't think coaching is check-ins once a week and then you do what you want for the rest of the 6 days. Like, it is a continuous graft. Like, we went to the cinema and I've been on my phone, speaking to people, doing conversations, making program adaptations or adaptions, however you want to say it, since we bloody came back a few hours ago. Now I'm on this call. I'm going upstairs to eat soon. It's a graft. If you've got yourself to work on, you've got other people as well. Don't let yourself fall by the wayside too.
Yeah, I don't think we can end on a better note than that.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much. Really, really do appreciate it. And I don't really know how to sign off on these, I'm being honest. Hope you all listen to the next one. I'll put all Brett's details, like his Instagram and all that, on the show notes. I think that's what people say. But honestly, mate, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
All good, my man. Thank you for having me.